All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Just a couple of housekeeping things. We are going to be recording this meeting and we will send it out in the next day or so along with this webinar deck. So be on the lookout for that. And you can feel free to share that within your organization or rewatch it as well. And if you have questions along the way, please feel free to submit those into the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat and we'll also dedicate some time toward the end of this webinar session to address those questions. So please utilize the chat function. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Letty Barrett. I am on the Verison team. I'm an analyst on the marketing team, and I joined Verison back in September. Prior to Verison, I was at Georgia Pacific, and I had a variety of experience across sourcing, procurement, and innovation. So I am going to quickly share kind of a rough agenda for today. We are going to hear from an industry expert, Aaron Meredith, just about a day in the life of the problem of materials management and why traditional data cleansing methods were not working for him and his team and his coworkers, and hear how that became a success story. We're going to quickly just go into a demo and give you a glimpse of what our platform looks like. We're going to talk about kind of the art of the possible for your materials management journey. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to spend some time towards the end for question and answers. So with that being said, we wanted to kind of kick this demo off with an awesome quote from Gartner. First of all, because it's Gartner, but second of all, because it really supports this shift in technology that's happening, especially in the supply chain space. And so really what this quote is saying is that 75% of enterprises are going to be shifting from piloting AI to really operationalizing it. So in about 2 years, enterprises are going to be really looking to AI as a capability in their core business rather than just trying it out. And so this really just supports what we're here to talk about today, which is the death of the data cleanse. And we're really passionate about that because many enterprises across the globe have been so handcuffed to these project-based data cleanse projects that where you don't see any ROI, it takes a long time, it's not innovative, it's really expensive, and it's not getting you the results of what you want. And so AI is really equipping organizations to have these data-driven insights to make better decisions across their organization and allow for their resources to spend more strategic time in the right areas. So we wanted to kick off with this quote, but here I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my friend and coworker, Aaron Meredith. He is the industry expert that I was referencing. He's got a variety of experience across manufacturing, engineering, innovation, IT, etc. So I'll let him introduce himself. So over to you, Aaron.
Thanks, Letty. And thanks everyone for joining the webinar today. So my name's Aaron Meredith. I am an industry advisor for Verison, and I am 4 weeks into being with Verison, so a recent hire. Before that, I had over 20 years of experience in industry, as Letty said, 19 of those years with Georgia Pacific. So Letty and I knew each other in a prior life at Georgia Pacific as well. So as Letty alluded to, my background's chemical engineering, paper science, business administration, and I've worked in a variety of roles in industry throughout my career, including things like being a maintenance coordinator in a plant where I'm ordering parts, or maintenance supervisor, or production supervisor. I've had multi-plant manufacturing responsibility, done a lot of process engineering, project engineering work. So I've been around operations, manufacturing industry quite a lot in my career, and have lived a lot of the challenges and problems that we face. I've also worked corporately, as well in industry on the business side, and see how these problems manifest themselves in terms of business performance as well. So I'm happy today to be able to share, some of my experience and my perspective about the problems that we're dealing with, and particularly talking about the problem today, which is around the problems of managing MRO inventory. in manufacturing. And this problem, when you look at MRO inventory, maintenance, repair, and operating supplies, it's really insurance against some potential failure on our assets and operations. That's why we carry it. And it's been treated for most of my career, if not all, as just basically a necessary evil that must be managed just in case. And this approach has led to a lot of problems, such as we have a failure, we didn't have the part we needed, we spent a lot of time trying to find it and air freighting it in, and then we swore it never happened again, so we ordered 2 parts to put into the shelf, and then lo and behold, a few years later, we end up doing a huge write-off because we got too much stuff in our inventory, and then the cycle repeats. And that's been going on probably most of our careers. If there's anybody else out there that's been working in this area as long as I have, and it's just been a vicious cycle that folks really just haven't been able to get out of. And because it's a necessary evil, it's been an under innovative area. I mean, we've been doing a lot of innovation on Industry 4.0 and ops transformation, but materials management has really not seen a lot of innovation. And traditionally, we've taken all the same approaches to solving this again, which is typically some sort of old data cleanse project, which is very expensive and takes a long time, and unfortunately isn't sustainable because a few years later you end up doing it again. And so I'll tell you, about a year and a half ago, while I was with Point A, which was a multi-party supply chain innovation center that Georgia Pacific had founded, I was at a conference in Houston, and I knew a lot of the companies at this conference, and including some companies that were members of Point A. And it was a supplier innovation conference. So this was a conference where various suppliers to industry were presenting how they could drive innovation for manufacturers. And one of the sessions was around MRO inventory optimization. So I was intrigued because we've been doing some work at Point A with Verisign on this. And there was a gentleman there that I knew from one of our member companies asking a lot of questions during this session. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, "Hey, you're asking a lot of questions. I'd like to understand, the problems that you're dealing with. Maybe we can have lunch and talk it over." So we did. And he told me that he was VP of Operations Excellence for this company. They have multiple facilities around the globe. And he said, "Hey, we finally got all of our data from all these plants into one common ERP system, one instance of one ERP system. We did this last year. And unfortunately, when we did it, we just kind of lifted and shifted all the data, like the MRO data, inventory data, into this new system. At the same time, we're trying to drive a lot of operational transformation in our plants. And a piece of that are operators doing more of their own work to their equipment and having to find parts, and they're really struggling with it." So, I said, "Well, are you looking at doing something like this company was presenting, which was basically a more efficient way to do a data cleanse, the same way that's been done for decades, but it was still going to take a long time and be very expensive?" He said, "Yeah. As a matter of fact, this was a Tuesday." He said, "On Thursday, I'm taking a project to our leadership to get over $500,000 approved to go do a data cleanse project." I said, "Really?" And I said, "Well, how long is that going to take?" He said, "Well, we'll get it done hopefully sometime, within a year or so." And I said, "Wow, it's really intriguing. But what if there was a different way? What if I told you that instead of this big, long, expensive data cleanse project that ultimately is not going to be sustainable, beyond a couple of years, what if there was a new way to do this? What if you could do it much faster, much cheaper, much less opportunity cost in terms of effort to get it done, and that not only could you get the results that you're after, but you can now sustain those results indefinitely?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'd be very interested in that." So I shared with him, a use case that we worked with at Point A. They're large, Fortune 500 size manufacturer, and struggling with all the same problems that this gentleman was struggling with and that we've all been struggling with. This company has over 120 manufacturing facilities around the country. They have data sitting in at least 7 different systems regarding ERP and enterprise asset management systems. And they carry over $500 million in maintenance parts. And when you looked at part of the problem they were experiencing, it was the same stuff that we all do. We don't have the right thing when we need it. We inflate our inventories. We end up throwing things away. And over time, on an annual 5-year average basis, they were throwing away about $30 million a year, just pure waste of stuff they didn't need that they had added to their inventory, which is horrible. And so we did an experiment. And if any of you work in the innovation space, you know that quick, cheap, easy experimentation is the key to learning fast, which is the key to truly innovating business processes, which is exactly what we did with Verison. And Verison brought forward a process where we could say, let's just take the data you have. We don't need to do any pre-cleansing to it. And let's take it into our AI machine learning algorithms and do an experiment on this and see what happens in 90 days. And lo and behold, they verified tens of millions of dollars of inventory reduction opportunities that they had not otherwise seen and would not have seen had they not applied this tool. Certainly not for the minimal amount of effort they put into doing it. So clearly, the gentleman I was speaking to at the conference was intrigued by this story, and lo and behold, they did not do that data cleanse project, and they are now a customer of Verison. So the truly transformative thing about this experiment, which is great that we could go accomplish this so fast, is really saying, well, if it's true that you can take this new innovative approach to managing materials in the MRO space and manufacturing, what does that really mean for the supply chain at large? And if you look at supply chain today, here's the slide. So today we really only see what we see, meaning if I'm in my plant and I have my storeroom and my ERP system, I kind of see what's there and I know what the risk is with my assets. Beyond, and I might or might not have a lot of confidence in that depending on the quality of the data, but beyond that, I don't really know what my sister plants have. Maybe my IT group put some sort of search tool in where I can kind of search around that. I don't really know what my supplier is carrying for me, so I'm going to carry a lot of just in case inventory, and it might or might not be the right stuff. But if it's true that we could use AI to make better decisions on this data without a data cleanse project, just creating actionable intelligence immediately on the data we have, we can then start to envision a future state where we don't have all these siloed one-to-one supply chain relationships, but now we can build out a resilient supply network, a network that can include my facility, the sister facilities in my division, maybe sister companies in my enterprise. So now I've got a lot more visibility to what's available out there and an algorithm making decisions I couldn't make just looking at the storeroom I had, right? Maybe your suppliers could get on this network. So now your supplier can supply you better, and you can talk about things like vendor managed inventory in ways you've not been able to talk about it before. And the beauty of this is that this presents an opportunity to do 2 things at the same time, which have traditionally been a trade-off. Because if I'm a plant manager and somebody says we really need to reduce inventory in the storeroom, my first reaction is, well, the risk to downtime of my assets just went up. Well, in this new paradigm, that's not true because now you can optimize your working capital and your inventory across enterprises and between companies while reducing risk, because now you have the intelligence and confidence that you're going to have what you need when you need it. You could tie in Industry 4.0 capabilities into this. I've got a bearing with the vibration sensor going out of control. Why would my supplier not be able to see that and start getting that bearing to me so that I can plan for that outage well in advance and never have to carry that in my storeroom? That's all doable, in a resilient supply chain network run on this type of AI platform. So this is really the vision and where we're going as a company, Verison, to enable this type of capability in the industry, because we believe we can disrupt these old paradigms and siloed supply chains and really start to create this resilient supply network on trusted data with trusted network partners, that we can really start to optimize our working capital inventories while reducing risk to our operations. So that's really the opportunity that we're very excited about here. I was so excited about it that after 20 years in industry, I went to work for a technology startup, and very excited about what we have to offer here. So I'm going to hand it over now to Chip Pritchard, who's going to take us through a demo of the product so you can actually see in this first phase just how easy it is to get engaged with your data and start creating actionable intelligence within 90 days.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Yeah, welcome everyone. Happy afternoon or morning, wherever you might be in the world today. Our platform is purpose-built again to solve these challenges that Aaron has very well articulated. And we base our platform around three major what we call superpowers. The first is delivering inventory optimization and reduction in order to reduce your working capital costs. The second is being able to harmonize your material master data and duplicate that information, allowing for better supplier insights as well too. Lastly, something we do that is seemingly simple is give you that visibility and Google-like search functionality into all of your different parts that you may have across plants, across systems that you have a hard time just finding to begin with. So that's what we base ourselves off of today. I'm going to share my screen with you all so we can jump right into a platform demo so I can really articulate exactly how we're doing this today. So let me hop into that. Aaron, just to confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. All right. So this is the first of the three superpowers that I mentioned before, the inventory optimization and reduction side. What we have here are all of our different plants. In this specific instance, multiple systems that we've collected this data from. For example, here, SAP EX1, SAP EX2. In the first 30 days of one of our 90-day proof of concepts, we take all of your material master data and historical data too. We try to get anywhere from 3 to 5 to 10 years of historical data, to about 26 tables in total, and allow the AI to train on itself. And what you're seeing here is what we would deliver back to you on day 30 so that you can begin to actually reduce your inventory and see those savings immediately. What we have here on the left side is all of our opportunity that has been verified. So what I mean by verified is, and as we get into these reduction cards I'm about to show, is that your plant managers or your procurement managers, whoever may own your spare parts, MRO, inventory spend costs today, has agreed with the recommendations up to $21 million so far that the AI has presented back to them. The opportunity unverified up here, this $11 million number, is $11 million more dollars that have been identified by the AI that still needs to be reviewed by, again, your plant managers, your procurement managers, et cetera. So let me drill down into the Harar plant to start. So this is where, again, I'm showing you these opportunity inventory reduction cards. Everything on the left side of this card, the details here, are all of your current state of affair data, right? You have, in this instance, 2,300 safety stock, 2,200 quantity on hand. The total value is about $5,000. And of course, the safety stock could be changed to anything like full inventory, min-max levels, whatever your vernacular might be, we can change and manipulate to show this. Everything on the right side of that is our recommendation for the inventory reduction. So in this instance, we say, hey, we should reduce our safety stock from 2,304 to 1,238. And here's all the major reasoning behind that. So we're conglomerating anything from issues to orders, lead times, bill of materials detail, and any other thing that might be pertinent for someone to see if they're going to make this decision, like criticality. If we need more information to make this decision, we can check over here, look at more details. We can even drill down into the specific material number and begin to look at things like attribution, your purchase order and goods movement history, things like your most frequent vendor, where these parts are moving to and from, bill of materials details, et cetera. So if I go back to this reduction card, and let's just say I'm the plant manager, I can either agree or disagree with this specific recommendation. If I see this and say, yes, I believe that this is a good recommendation, I can go ahead and hit agree, one button. We have now reduced the safety stock from 2,304 to 1,238. And given ourselves a savings of about $2,200 in that reduction. Similarly, and maybe just as important too, we can disagree with these recommendations as well. So if I'm a plant manager, there may be something that's living within my head and the field knowledge that just doesn't exist in an ERP or an MDM system that, I might need to couple with this information. So I might say, no, we actually need about 2,000. And the reason for that is there's a long lead time, or we need more information on this item that just doesn't exist here. And we can even enter free text in here that will be picked up by our natural language processing so that the AI continues to get smarter. So it's learning not only on your data, but coupling that with the knowledge and information we're starting to get from your plant managers, your procurement managers, your subject matter experts that might have more information than what lives in your system. So that's what we're doing today around inventory optimization and helping to reduce that wasted working capital you may have. The second superpower, as I mentioned before, is around the data, the deduplication, the harmonization of material master data. So again, we're doing this all in the first 30 days of your 90-day proof of concept. We deliver this back to you that you are then able to begin to group these potentially duplicate items together so that we can have better supplier insights and just generally clean up our data as a whole. So as I take a look at this specific example here, we now have what we consider to be our trusted record. Again, we have multiple catalogs of data that we're getting this information from, and we're putting this insight information together for us to be able to deduce and be able to figure out what potential duplicates might exist within the system. So in this example, this trusted record that we provided is one that we believe has the most information and the best information for your team to look at. Everything else around that, these two next records, are potential duplicates. So again, if I'm someone at the plant level and I need to figure out, or maybe I'm in procurement, maybe I'm just a subject matter expert on these specific items, I might want to come in here and say, hey, here's all the information that we have on these two items. Does that fit into the trusted record or the group of the trusted record? If I agree, I can hit yes, I can hit no, I can even say I'm unsure about this specific data for now. And actually we can come back and look at this later. But if I hit yes, that's great. We're grouping these items together. We're starting to figure out where these items might be coming from. If I say no, that's great. They get put in their own bucket, or maybe they go to a different duplicate group. But let's just say I agree with all of these, right? Now I have insights into where these parts exist and how much I'm procuring them for. So for example, if I agree, I now know that this part here, we have enough information to know that we purchased that item for $66,000 at the Harar plant. But for the same item, we purchased this item for $178,000 at the New York plant. We can begin to look at the suppliers in which we're getting these items from and begin to deduce and understand where we are getting these parts from and why we're buying them for a specific price. Does it make more sense to do part transfers from Harar to New York because of who we're buying them from? Could we buy them from the same person and have them shipped up to New York? Or does it make sense to continue to purchase from the New York guy if there's a mismatch with price or if there's missing data somewhere? We now have that information as we group these items together. And the death of the data cleanse itself comes from the fact that this system is always on. As you potentially go through mergers, acquisitions, you start adding new data, creating new data within your platforms. This platform here will begin to, again, continually harmonize and deduplicate this data so that you never have to go on an 18-month project to finish this and then restart another 18 months later. The last thing I'll show, again, is that Google-like search functionality within the platform. I can type anything from a bolt to a screw. I can even type in things like, part material numbers. Try 107 here, and really figure out where these parts might be coming from. Again, over different catalogs, different plants, we can even see where duplicates might be existing right off the bat in our search functionality too. So that we can go ahead, begin to review items. If we're trying to create a new item, if we're trying to just locate one, we might see there's duplicates and there's things for us to go in and adjudicate or review. Last thing I'll show everyone is just some quick dashboards and reporting capability we have within the platform today. And again, we're not trying to replace or remove any sort of BI platform like a Tableau or a Power BI. We just want to be able to give you at a high level some idea of the overall acceptance of this platform, who is adopting it quicker than others, how much have we actually verified of our own inventory on hand. This specific customer here so far has verified about 10% in savings of their total on-hand value, which is great. We still have another 5% of the total on-hand value to even take a look at and potentially reduce as well too. And this 10% number is about average for all of our customers so far. So we're seeing great results with our customers through this 90-day proof of concept. And again, we can start looking at things like, acceptance rates. We can look at plant performances specifically. For example, the Rio de Janeiro plant, they've agreed to 317 of their total reduction cards so far, which is great. I'll actually stop here, turn this back over to Aaron as we continue to learn a little bit more about what we do today and what we're looking at tomorrow as we provide what we call waves of value for our customers. Aaron?
Hey, thanks, Chip. And as Letty's getting this up here, so I mean, hopefully you got a good feel during that demo with Chip just how quick and easy it is to engage with this tool. So this isn't going to be like a big training effort. It's not a huge IT project. You could just about have somebody sit down in front of it and figure it out on their own. Although we're glad to offer the help to get folks started. But what I'd like to share is that what you're seeing right now is really the product that we have developed for what we're calling wave one in our journey to the future, which is really saying, how do we really get all the data in these various systems and get down to the trusted records, the things that we really know, the single version of the truth, right? And then the journey that we're going on, and we're already working with customers toward wave two right now, is, okay, now if we have trusted records, how do we build out the trusted network? Meaning that now let's start deciding how we can optimize this across facilities within my company or my division. And then how can we carry that on to a trusted enterprise where we expand that network to really not only, as I mentioned earlier, start to optimize our inventory levels, which is fantastic and pays off very quickly, but maybe most importantly, I'm starting to build resilience in my supply chain network, which is going to lower risk to my operations. And then as we start to bring on suppliers, trusted suppliers in that network, maybe you have preferred partners that you work with at your companies that you would like to have on this trusted network. Now you can really collaborate with your suppliers about how can that supplier best service you as their customer without you carrying the risk or the extra insurance in terms of MRO inventory at your facility. So that's the journey that we're going on. And this isn't going to take, 5 years. We're looking at getting there in the next, 6 to 18 months to this trusted enterprise, and then starting to get trusted suppliers on next year. So this is the journey we're on right now. And if you want to think about how do you get started, once again, best way to innovate in your company is to learn fast, which is to experiment quickly. And Verison offers a very fast, easy, inexpensive, low lift experiment you can do in terms of a proof of concept, where within the first 30 days of starting the proof of concept, we can take in the data from the various systems and begin to apply the AI algorithms to that, start to create recommendations within the second 30 days. And then within the last 30 days, have your team start to verify the validity of these recommendations. And as you see here on this slide, we've had customers, see tremendous value captured just within these first 90 days on these projects. So it's pretty low risk. It's, you don't need anybody to come into your storeroom and take pictures of parts. We can do it right through Zoom right here and on this software as a service platform. So very excited to help, more companies on this journey. So I will pause there, and I think we're going to have some time for Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it. So yes, you are right. We are going to go ahead and open up the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to plug those in there and we would love to get those answered. We also would love to share Aaron's email as well. So if you've got questions that you would prefer to talk about one-on-one, or if you've got questions afterward, please feel free to email him or our team to get those answered. We are more than happy to answer all those questions. And while we wait on any of the questions that might come in, do you want to talk about just the system agnostic benefit of our system and how we can integrate into any system? And I know I've heard a lot of questions about how we do or don't integrate or make actual changes in an ERP system. I think that would be helpful to go ahead and address. And we're already getting questions in the chat, so I'll start going through those.
Sure. Yeah. So high level, that's the beauty of this and why you're able to get value so fast is that it is, you don't have to like consolidate all your data into one ERP. You don't have to clean it up first. You can start getting actionable intelligence immediately. And that's a key difference is that you don't have to get your house in order before you can start making decisions. You can start making your decisions and your house will become in order as you start interacting with the system, which is, it kind of turns the existing paradigms upside down.
Great, thank you, Aaron. So we've got a couple questions in the chat. One of the first ones is, are you able to track the bill of materials component commonality across different plants and locations?
So you might get out of my depth in terms of the technology and the product development pipeline and things like that, but I will say that bills of materials on your existing equipment is a key consideration in the decision-making of the AI algorithm. And so as you start to get more plants onto the platform and more bills of materials associated with assets, that commonality is going to be a factor in how this tool can help you make better decisions. So it's certainly one of the very key considerations in terms of the data that the platform is using to make the recommendations for you.
Great. And can you quickly just talk about when data is of multiple languages? Are we able to solve for the multilingual type of data?
Yeah, you're way out of my depth now. So I would need to pull our product dev guy on. I know this is something we either solved or we're working on, but I wouldn't be able to give you a very good answer. But if whoever asked that, if you would like to email me at this email, then I can get an answer back to you that would be better than my stumbling here right now.
I do know that we have started integrating into different languages. So I think we can definitely get you an in-depth answer there, but we are able to do that. We can partner with third-party tools that are able to do that and make it easier for us. But we can definitely, like Aaron said, get you in contact with the right person if there's a specific language that you're wondering about. So looks like one additional question. So when you are on the dashboard and a user is providing a decision request, if you are still unsure from the dashboard about this potential savings, is it possible to really drill down to either the data or the decision-making process to really track the algorithm or the decision that was made by the user to find out why that decision was recommended?
Yeah, so there's a lot in that question. So, and I would expect this to happen, right? You're going to have somebody looking at the data, not really knowing what to do or making a decision about it. And maybe they're the right person to make the decision or not. So the beauty is there's a record. So we know what users are making what decisions in the system. So there's capabilities here to be able to go back and kind of analyze the process you've gone through and say, did we make good decisions, did we make bad decisions, are some folks being a little too risk adverse, versus over here they're getting benefit and here they're not. So those capabilities are there because you're capturing, as this isn't just AI doing everything, this is users interacting with the tool, which means that there's a lot of human AI interaction, and those interactions are captured and can then be reported on and audited and things like that over time.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and just to kind of add on to that, we are able to track all of the reasons the decisions are recommended and then track all the decisions that are made on a user basis. And really the beautiful thing about our platform, that one things that I personally love the most, is that it is this self-learning, self-cleansing system. So as a user, if I make a decision that one part is the same as the other, our Verisim platform really takes that learning and that decision to apply it to other similar situations, so that I'm not going to be prompted to make that decision again. And that's a huge capability that you can find in our AI that you would not find in a traditional data cleansing method, because it's really this always on, this self-learning, self-cleansing system that makes your life easier based on the decisions and the knowledge that you have, all while tracking the decisions that are being made. Awesome. So I think that is all the questions that I see in the chat. But again, please feel free to reach out to us. Our team is more than happy to answer any additional questions that you guys might have. Really appreciate everybody taking the time today to spend the afternoon or late morning, wherever you are, with us. And I'm seeing that there's one more question in the chat. Let's see. I'm not seeing it. All right, I apologize. I'm not seeing the additional question, but we can definitely try to follow up with you afterwards. So apologies if I'm missing it. I'm gonna do one more sweep. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that if I am missing it. But thank you guys again for taking the time to spend with us. Another reminder, we did record this meeting, and we will be sending out the recording plus these slides as a follow-up in the next day or so. So please feel free to be on the lookout for that and follow up with us if you have any questions. If you do want to stay on the line, we'll stay on here for a couple more minutes to answer any questions. You're more than welcome. We can take the time to have an additional conversation. But thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.